Hey everybody out there, this is Dirty D with your Pro Sports Podcast. Today I wanted to do something a little different. Today I wanted to make a video basically giving out my way too early playoff picks. Um, in the AFC, I got three teams out from last season that won't be returning to the dance. I got three of the teams that were in last season will stay in. And then there's going to be the addition of the seventh team in both conferences. In the NFC, I didn't really go too in depth into that one because I think that one is going to be way wide open. But AFC fans, AFC teams, if you're a fan of any AFC teams, anything like that, you're going to want to go ahead and stay tuned for this one because I think this one might, if you're a betting person, you might want to put odds on these teams, and you might end up winning some money. So let me start off with the number one overall seed I see coming out of the AFC this year is going to be Indianapolis. We all know they added Phillip Rivers. They also added Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin through the draft. Couple of defensive linemen through the draft as well. I see them winning the overall number one seed and the only bye in the new playoff format this season through the AFC. Then I see Kansas City being the two overall seed, and I see them competing right to the end. I see them being the team that they were last season, but I see them falling short, and I'll go into that a little more into detail. So, number one, Indy. Number one with the bye, Indy. Number two, KC. Number three, I'm going to see coming out of the East, and I'm going to say that's going to be the Buffalo Bills. They're going to win the AFC East this year. Last year, they were super hyper competitive, made it into the wild card round, and in New England is going to be in some turmoil, and there's going to be some turnover in that franchise since Brady left. So again, guys, one seed with the bye, the only bye in the new playoff format, is going to be Indianapolis. Your defending Super Bowl champs will be playing on Wild Card Weekend again, or weekend this year in KC. The Buffalo Bills, your NFC East champions, will also be playing on Wild Card Weekend, and as will your NFC North champions in the Baltimore Ravens. I see them pulling this off again this year, but it's going to be a struggle. That being said, I see three teams coming out of the NFC or the AFC North, excuse me, and that being Baltimore winning the division, Pittsburgh being the top wild card team, and then with the surprise, the last wild card team that's going to be facing Kansas City in the wild card round is going to be Cincinnati. I think Joe Burrow and the Bengals with the new 17 format end up squeaking in. I think Cleveland bombs and tanks this season and just doesn't have anything close to success or what they want anyway, and they end up blowing it. And so they end up, your first week of the playoffs is going to be in the AFC wild card round. It's going to be Kansas City or Cincinnati visiting Kansas City. Uh, Buffalo with another one of my surprise picks, the Denver Broncos. Uh, Buffalo is going to be hosting the Denver Broncos in the 3 and 6 matchup. But unfortunately, my very young and untested Broncos will come up short in Buffalo in the wild card round. And I see the Ravens actually being physically kind of just beat up on by Pittsburgh. So the way I got it looking is in the divisional round, it will be the Phillip Rivers led Colts and the Ben Roethlisberger Pittsburgh Steelers. It's going to be a good matchup. In the second game, I got Kansas City versus Buffalo, with Buffalo going into Arrowhead. Um, I got this one being kind of an upset too. I got the defending Super Bowl champions being ousted in the divisional round by the up and coming upstart Buffalo Bills, And then that results in Indianapolis hosting Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills and that great defense for the AFC Championship game in Indianapolis, which I think Philip Rivers and the Indianapolis Colts, with all their additions in the offseason, the defense that was already stout, that run game that's just ridiculously good, and it was good last year with a very physical, strong offensive line, gets gets past the Buffalo Bills defense and advanced to the Super Bowl. So again, guys, I got Indy going to the Super Bowl overall from the AFC side of the playoff picture. They're going to be your number one seed overall. That's Indianapolis, number one overall seed. With the 7 teams, there's only one team that gets a bye in this new format, and that is going to be Indianapolis, and it's going to benefit them because Philip Rivers is going to be a little bit dinged up there towards the end of the season. That bye week's going to get him nice and healthy, and it's going to help them get over the hump. And again, in the wild card round, I have Kansas City versus Cincinnati. Cincinnati shocks everyone, shocks the world, and the Cardiac Cats end up making a push late season and have some very favorable bounces. End up going 9-7 and barely squeak in on the last game of the season, where it is between them and Cleveland to get in to the playoffs, and Cleveland isn't close to getting into the playoffs. Cincy will have to win against Cleveland to get into the playoffs, and that will clinch it for them. But then I see Buffalo, and they're going to win their division against my young untested Broncos. I see Drew Lock and Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and all those weapons really clicking and coming together, and we end up having a 10-6 overall record. We end up being pretty dang competitive, and it ends up coming down to a tiebreaker between us and Pittsburgh for the 6 and the 5 seed this season, and I see Pittsburgh edging us out. I think we go to Pittsburgh, and I think they beat us there in the regular season, and I think that ends up giving them the edge as far as playoff seeding. So that again, 7 seed Cincinnati, big shocker. 6 seed Denver, 5 seed Pittsburgh. I'm gonna go with the Steelers coming in the 5th seed. They're gonna be 10-6 as well as my Broncos are. And then the 4th seed overall will be the the AFC North Division champion Ravens, who aren't going to have the same kind of success they did last season. They are going to be good, but they're not going to be as successful. And they're going to come in the 4 seed at 11-5 and barely squeak by Pittsburgh to win that division. Then in the 3 seed, it's gonna be Buffalo, who's gonna be 12-4, who's gonna be really good, really good, and they're gonna make it to the AFC Championship game in Indy and lose. But it's gonna be a good season for them, and it's a good start to that team making a push into a Super Bowl window. Then we're gonna go to the 2 seed overall, which is gonna be the defending Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs. Again, I see them being upset in the divisional round by Buffalo with a stout defense, but I do see them also making it to a record of overall around 12-4, 13-3. So that leaves Indy. I see Indy having a very successful season in a very weak division, and I see them going 14-2. I think the additions of Philip Rivers, the Michael Pittman Jr., guys like T.Y. Hilton being there, Marlon Mack coming out of the backfield, Jonathan Taylor, that big physical, strong offensive line of the Indianapolis Colts. I see it all clicking together and their defense coming together too. And I see Indy again going, possibly 15-1, probably 14-2, but winning the AFC altogether in Indianapolis against the Buffalo Bills, who upset the Kansas City Chiefs in the divisional round. So the AFC championship will be in Indianapolis and will be won by Philip Rivers and the Indianapolis Colts. and they will be going to the Super Bowl this year, and I believe they actually will win it. Um, if you like my playoff picture, my way too early playoff picture, go ahead and drop a like or comment if you disagree and you think it's going to be a little bit different, or subscribe. Also, if you're interested, I'm going to be doing my NFC playoff picture video next. So please tune in for that. And anybody that tunes in for this, thank you as always. I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks again.